Afternoon, everybody. I'm Lisa Nichols, AEG Social Media Director, and I'm happy to be joined by Chris Ross, one of our members, our elite advisors. We are at a new date and time for today. I'm not sure if this is going to be a thing going forward, so just stay tuned. We usually do these Wednesdays at 9, but we decided to try something different, so we're here Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And happy to be joined by Chris. Let me just tell you all a little bit about Chris. I met Chris, I think the day he joined. He's been a fantastic member for AEG. And Chris, in his work life, is responsible for providing comprehensive wealth management advice to high net worth individuals and families, entrepreneurs, business owners, and foundations and endowments throughout the Mid-Atlantic region. He works closely with clients and their advisors to develop financial strategies that seek to help clients meet their current needs and plan for their long-term objectives. Chris also coordinates the various services his clients require based on their unique needs, including investment management, planning, trust, private banking, and family office services. And he has over 30 years of industry experience and 2 undergraduate degrees in economics and history, an MBA from the College of William & Mary, which is my alma mater, and also did postgraduate work at Johns Hopkins. So he is very well educated. So Chris, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Oh, we lost your sound for a second. Can you say something again?
How's this?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thanks.
Great.
Cool. Okay, so what did I not cover in your bio that you want everybody to know about you?
Well, thank you for going through that. It was pretty good. I would say, what I really enjoy about what I do is work with a lot of first generation earners or business owners, and you really get to hear about the growth of the business, how they started it, how they grew it, and it's inspiring. And I always can learn from my clients. So it really puts me in a special seat to be able to learn from them while also helping them with everything that you went through in the bio, which is also rewarding.
So, Chris, having said that, do you work mostly with entrepreneurs or startups, or do you work with them after they have kind of reached a certain level in their business?
Well, our business, a lot of it is based on trust, and you can't get introduced at the 12th hour and already have established that trust.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll work with business owners as they're growing their business. And so they are prior to a liquidity event, prior to a sale or a transition to the next generation, and so they're probably still in that entrepreneurial phase, or they've started businesses in the past and they're starting a new one, which is very typical, and we can help plan through the future potential exit of their current enterprise.
Gotcha. So do you work with them for on the personal side or their business side, or a combo of both, because it all dovetails together?
So I focus on the personal, but it typically bleeds into the business as well.
Mm-hmm.
The business is a very important asset to them. And I typically I'll start a conversation with what you own is very important, but also how you own it. And that's part of that that leads into the planning process. And part of that planning process is what they want to do with the business. And so we'll get involved with their personal ownership side of the business. So it's not necessarily the operational side,
Mm-hmm.
but thinking about the business as an asset.
Gotcha. So very interesting. And I'm sure you work across a wide gamut of industries too. So I am sure you're always learning different things about different industries in your work life.
Yes, very much so. I work with C-suite executives, which run large corporations, hotel chains, large government contracting firms, which are prone for this area in Washington, D.C., but also business owners that have grown a family business, whether it be started a couple of generations ago or they started this generation, and the businesses run a wide gamut of what they do, produce, advise on.
Very cool. Very cool. So getting into this, I'm sure with your experience, you've seen a lot of different trends and things going on in the industry. So are there some things that are more at the forefront of your mind right now in terms of what we're seeing with industry trends or moving forward, anything you wanted to share, any, special knowledge that you could share with us?
Sure, thank you. I'd say the biggest issue right now for a lot of folks is planning, and so that gets into what I had just said in terms of how you own things. You want to start with identifying goals, for the current gen. So think of it as the ownership as generation one or G1. Then you start thinking about their kids, G2, and grandkids, G3, and so on and so forth, depending on the size of the balance sheet. And uh, so a big trend in terms of what we're seeing, has been how to approach the planning. What's appropriate for keeping inside the G1 estate, moving to G2 or G3. You give up some control as you move assets out of your estate. So there's a give take with the control of the assets. But folks that have more than that, have more than they will need during their generation should really think about future generations and tax efficiency in terms of getting those assets to them. So we've seen a big push in terms of leading our conversations prior to anything else, focusing in on this because you start to get an idea of what the family wants to accomplish. Then you can build investments around that. You can build whether they use leverage or not, insurance or not, but you start to be able to put the pieces together to accomplish those goals. In kind of secondly to that, it's an ever-changing landscape. As we were coming into last year, the 2017 tax cuts, which first Trump administration had put in place, had changed some of these rules and laws, and they were going to sunset at the end of this year, 2025. With the Trump administration number 2 coming in, that looks to not be the case. Nothing's passed yet, obviously, but it is a high priority for this administration to keep a lot of those rules in place, and if not, make them better from a planning perspective. So the gist I've learned over the 30 years or so is that it's an always moving target and should always be addressed and looked at according to the current laws. We've seen a kind of a whipsaw from a Republican administration to a Democratic administration to a Republican, which is not fair to us, as the constituents, but that seems to be the case. So again, you need to always be on top of it and have your advisors on top of it as well.
So how do you help people navigate through those changes then?
Well, the changes are really cut and dry. When it comes down to it, there's a certain amount that you can move out of your estate without a tax cost to it. That amount, that's the adjustment that I'm referring to. That amount typically changes. There's a federal level, there's a state level. So depending on what state the client lives in, there are different guidelines around the planning. So those are dollar amounts that we tend to focus on, but there's a lot of different types of vehicles that you can use in terms of trusts, in terms to establish these trusts for the benefit of your family, for other individuals, for charity, and that moves money out of your estate, which is the goal here. But there's different levels of control that you can still have depending on the type of trust that you utilize. And there are also more complex methods where you can use discounts on the current value of your asset, which then does not, I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but it does not fully use the market value of that asset, so you can end up moving more out of your estate.
Okay. Do you often end up like mediating between the different generations, as you said, G1 to G2 to G3 to try and, because everybody has different goals in what they're doing, or how does that work?
So it's a good question. I wouldn't say it's mediation. It's more of bringing everybody into the fold. Typically, you have a matriarch or patriarch that has established the wealth, that has a legacy that they would like to continue, and you can see that in terms of some of the terms and some of the different ways that they write their trusts, or have the next generations have the availability to use those funds for certain purposes. Uh, I think that's very important in terms of establishing the legacy, because that those funds come from a certain source, and there's a meaning to that source, and the family usually, has a strong tie to that. And so it's back to your question. It's not necessarily a mediation, but more of an education and a continuance of that culture, of that legacy, is what we try to help the family pass on.
Gotcha. Okay. And tell me, what do you love most about what you do?
I would say everybody I work with is successful, so it's a very positive environment. They've built great businesses, and they're fun to be around. And as I said before, you can learn something from everybody, and it's very interesting to learn the stories, to hear how they accomplished what they have. And so I always love hearing the stories, and as I said, it puts me in a very interesting position to be able to understand that.
Well, very interesting. That's really great. I love, that's a lovely way to look at it. So very cool. I think we're going to start to wrap up a little bit. I know I don't like to make these super long and keep, and I value your time. So I know you joined AG. It's been over a year, right? How long has it been? Do you remember?
It's been about a year, yes.
Okay, yeah. So tell me why you joined AG and what you most like about it.
So the Elite Advisor Program, and I was actually talking with Mark about this yesterday. I really, so first of all, it's full of great people, well vetted. It truly is an advisor group that has been there, seen that, done that. And so therefore, a great sounding board when you're thinking about a client scenario. There are many different resources from all walks of the advisory world that you can access in a very collegial environment. Just in the events, the networking is great. The talent that's pulled together on a systematic basis, every month is very routine, and it's just nice to see those people over and over. You build rapport, you get to beyond the boardroom talk, you get to learn about what they're doing outside work, whether it be family time or different vacations, different trips, things that they're doing. And it's a really nice venue to network. Very comfortable.
Oh, great. Well, I'm glad you're finding value in it. We're all happy that you're part of AEG, and also that you're finding it valuable to attend. So, and in fact, we have a meeting this evening, so maybe I'll see you there.
Yep.
Get off here.
An hour and a half.
Great. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Any closing thoughts you want to leave everybody with? As you all know, we'll have Chris, we'll tag Chris in the LinkedIn post, and then we'll put his website there. So if you want to reach out to him, you can, and be sure to connect with him on LinkedIn. But yeah, any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
Just happy to be a part of the group, part of AEG, and I welcome any questions that come my way on anything that we discussed here today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris, for your time. I appreciate it. Everybody stay tuned next month. I'm not sure if we're going to be back to our usual Wednesday time. We're going to do something a little bit different, but stay tuned, and we'll put that info out there. So thanks, Chris, and have a great rest of your day.
Great. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.